now we come to the most important word, the object of our commitment, Jesus Christ. I am committed. I must have the object of Jesus Christ. That one word gives meaning to all our other commitments. It's much more than a commitment to an idea or a plan we may have. And we need to have these. They're very worthy. I'm going to jog so many miles a day. I'm going to pray for a missionary regularly. I'm going to cut down on calories. I'm going to start having a stone ground oatmeal at the man's house in the morning. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. for devotions. We can have all these commitments and they're worthy. But we have to have a bigger commitment. It's more than a commitment to a group or a cause, meaningful as it might be, to Greenpeace or Save the Whales, to the Girl Scouts, to the Boy Scouts, to the Republicans and the Democrats. Wow, you hear the news this morning, I'm sure, about Santorum swept the 3 states. Where was I going? I'm not committed to that, don't get excited. Commitment to maybe pro-life activism, which is also in the headline news these days. Committing to serving at a church. All these commitments are important, even more than really worthy and necessary and life-defining commitments to my spouse and my children, to my church family, to my birth family, to reading God's Word and growing, to getting the gospel to the ends of the earth. All these are great commitments, but we might call this commitment to the person of Jesus Christ, the a priori commitment, the thing that takes prior place. Everything else we do falls under our commitment to Jesus Christ. If it doesn't fall under it, we shed. I wish you could have known my good friend Betty Olson. Not necessarily when she was a student at Nyack when I first met her. That Betty was flippant, cynical, bitter, and very determined that God would not mess up her life any more than he already had. Above all, missionary life was not for her. But after Nyack, Betty met with God and met with his Spirit, and a profound change transformed her life. And he worked in her life, and when she joined us in language study in Da Nang, we were shocked that she was coming, but we were even more shocked when she arrived, because it was not the same Betty we knew. She was committed to Jesus Christ. You couldn't have a conversation with her without hearing about him. Yes, she was committed to nursing, committed to wiping out Hansen's disease in Vietnam, to learning the language, to a host of other things. But I remember her saying over and over to me, God called me to come here. He didn't say anything about going back. Betty was serving God in the mountain town of Ban Mi Thuot at the Christian Missionary Alliance Leprosarium when she was captured by the VC, and 6 months later she died of starvation and malnutrition on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, buried today in the jungle of Vietnam. Her death was a living witness to many others. Betty knew the verse that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. First, I just have to tell you a funny story because I've got time. Okay. This was like optional in the notes. My husband, Woody, is a hunter. So I grew up in the city and I don't know anything about it. So one day, he came home one day at noontime, very unusual for him. He said to me, how would you like to go for a walk? This is not his love language, so I'm just going, okay, this is a good idea. And beautiful fall day, so I'm picturing going down a path, you know, holding hands and swinging my hat behind me, airbrush kind of thing. And, so we get in the car, we drive out the country, and I said, where are we going? He says, oh, I got a place I want you to see. So we get out there, we parks the car by the side of the road, and he starts walking through woods. And I said, where's the path? And he wasn't with me, he was up ahead of me. I said, where's the path? He said, there's no path. So I said, what are we doing? Come on. And I started walking, and I said, wait for me. He says, no, I gotta go first. So I thought, what is this? Not what I had in mind exactly. So I'm following up, and finally he tells me, hunting season starts, turkey season starts Monday, and I'm trying to see where they're roosting. And you find out where they're roosting by what they've left on the ground in front of you. And so I had a choice. I stood there, I was so sad. I was disappointed. My expectation wasn't exactly met. And I stood there and I thought, I could either go back and sit in the car and read a book, which I'd far rather do, or I could just follow my husband along this path. And I thought, well, I'm going to follow him. And so we walked along, happily and unhappily looking. But I want to tell you that if you're committed to Christ, this is what's going to happen. Sometimes it's with me, and he tells me I am his own. And it's so wonderful. And many, many days are like that. But many of your days are going to be like the walk that I was on, where you have to watch where you step, and you're not really happy, and it isn't what you planned on. It's not meeting your expectation of the wonderful Christian life. But you are committed to Christ, and you will follow where he leads. So I'm going to end with a verse in 2 Timothy 1:12 that says, I know whom I have believed, and I'm persuaded that he is able to keep that which I have committed to him against that day. If Christ truly is the person of your commitment, repeat with me and emphasize all 5 words. I